Welcome to the July meeting, and thank you for everyone who's here and those participating on the phone. Rhonda, we're waiting for Rich to call in. He said he would. So I guess the first order of business is to approve the agenda for today. A second.
I'll second it.
All right, in favor, Rhonda, you have to say yes because we don't have anyone else.
Sorry, yes.
All right, thank you. And the May minutes which was sent out, everybody okay with that? Motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Second?
Yes,
All
Ron.
right, thank you. All right, so my report was sent out to everybody. I guess I will just highlight some of the stuff that's in there. Very slow download. No, that's not. Okay, so, yeah, we're not meeting next month, but everybody knows that. And we'll meet again in September. Will be the PCAC meeting on the 6th of September. And our next meeting will be in October the 18th. Okay.
Ellen, you asked me when I'm going on vacation. August 21st to Labor Day.
August 21st?
Doesn't affect anything.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, so anyway, I write about after giving a safety award to Metro North. It's always good. They used to be always getting these awards, and so I'm glad that we're getting them again. Rhonda gave us a very important update about the situation at White Plains immediately after the reconstruction of the station started. And so Bill and the staff sent it to Metro North, and I think things got better there, Rhonda?
Yes, I mean, people figured it out for themselves, yes.
Okay, I will be there this afternoon. I have to pick up somebody that's going to be staying with us for a day. So I'll see if I can.
And by switching the up and down access, that helps out a lot because that's forcing people to the back instead of everybody to the front.
All right, good. We're glad to hear there's a success story there. Last month, the county executive of Rockland was having been upset for a long time how the service is being provided to us on our side of the Hudson, the west side of the Hudson. Asked for a meeting, and senior Metro North staff were completely there, probably 6 of them. And New Jersey Transit sent a high-level spokesman, and that all resulted in a press release which was issued earlier this week. And there are 3 sections, short-term, medium-term, and long-term, and everything that I asked for and others have asked for is in that plan. So it just remains to be seen how
This is a copy of
how they will come to see fruition of those things. I had recently learned about some of our commuters missing their scheduled connection that's a caucus, and I complained about it to Metro North School Supervision and Superintendent. And unbeknownst to me, there was an agreement made with Metro North and New Jersey Transit. They would hold our express train. It's mentioned in here, the people in the mainline dispatcher's office, all they saw that there was another train going to the same place 5 minutes later. They didn't realize that it was an express train for our people, New York riders, and so there was a screw up last week. So on our way back from the New Jersey Transit Board meeting on Tuesday, I stopped in Secaucus just to double check to make sure that the message got down to the lower level people who have to enforce it, and it did not.
Really?
So I sent an email to the fellow who signed off on it, and he didn't call me back yet, so I called someone else to get his phone number so I can directly speak to him. The history events that are going to be taking place this year in Grand Central. If there's any questions about whatever else is in here, I'll be happy to take those questions. If not, board report, well, we just got the documentation for next week's meeting, and I didn't get a chance to fully go through it. Let me see if I can, if they load up over here, I will do that. did see this last night. For those who ride on the eastern Hudson lines, the locomotives that I use, they're called the Genesis locomotive. They were made by the General Electric Company going back to 1995 and 2001, so there are 31 of them. Some are owned by the state of Connecticut, but they're identical. Metro North decided that they needed to be replaced. Even though they've been overhauled a bunch of times, they want to. So they changed the capital program to avoid buying M9s, electric commuter cars, instead to defer that and use that money for buying new electric, dual-powered locomotives. So in Monday's committee book, there's going to be a request for the committee to approve that. An RFP they want to do. And there's some other stuff for bus emergency service contracts, which you should get through without much of a big deal. And it's really like the highlight of what's there. So let's go to the old business update.
Oh, okay. Unfortunately, we are where we were at the last update. The three individuals that were in the process that we have, James Schoenig, David Scheckler, and Michael Stanton, are still in the governor's internal process, and so they haven't yet gotten paperwork to fill out. And I have not gotten a call. I have not gotten a call back from Joan McDonald, despite leaving several messages. So I will continue to call.
I'll speak to her.
I will continue to call her until I actually get something back from her.
Do you think that she's still working there?
Yes, I spoke to her. I left two of the messages were left on a recorder, but I actually got a human being the last time. And she said that she would give the message to Joan, and I assume Joan is still working there because of that.
She didn't say that you wanted.
She did not say Joan is decamped to Florida or anything like that. So,
Okay.
so yeah, no, she just hasn't called me back.
Just so that
I left her several fairly detailed messages, so she should know what I'm asking. And
all right, I'll give Walter a call and while we're going home on the train.
yeah.
Just so that my fellow committee members know, we're not being singled out here. There are also delays in getting appointees to the other two our sister councils or brother councils, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it is, it's years in getting them.
There are.
And that is putting everything at a disadvantage and who's getting sent out. And it's really an embarrassment for the state.
Yeah, we've got a year. All the people who have not gotten their paperwork yet were sent up to Albany about a year ago.
Don't you do the paperwork and they investigate and then?
Apparently what happens is the letter from the county executive or whoever it is
Right,
goes up, the recommendation goes up. Then they do an internal, sort of investigation to see if the person is worthy of even going into the process.
How are they supposed to know Joe Smith?
Well, I think they,
But what
usually they have a
happens-
resume.
I mean, at this point in time, when
What
there's
if you
so much
haven't-
going on with
Hey, you sent the
transportation,
resume,
Yeah,
and
usually they have
to
a
not see
resume.
the value of approving the recommendations or not just acting on them,
But,
when
yeah.
there's so much infrastructure issues.
Well, I mean, I think the second floor, hey, but it doesn't matter. Second floor is a fairly high caution area right now, the governor's office. They don't want embarrassing mistakes to be made.
Okay, but
So
a
it's
year?
slowed it down, yes.
More than a year,
Well,
actually?
I'm not defending the time frame. That's excessive. But I think it's very difficult to get things to go through without having gone through a number of people's eyes to sign off on them. That's just my sense of it.
Possibly also the upcoming election.
Yeah, I think it
But it
is.
wasn't an
It's
election
been-
year when
it's
they
been-
first
yeah.
went up there. You know, it's going to run into an election year the more you don't
It's been
approve
said, it's
or,
been-
running for
or
the last
kick
3
back to
years.
say, nope, that's not gonna
It's
cut
been
it.
said that that's a reason for it, but, yeah, no, it's, I mean, the MTA won't have a board member from Nassau County for a year,
Yeah.
because they, you know, did not get that done in a sufficient way.
I'm not gonna call a special session just.
No, they're not gonna, they could, the Senate is apparently going back in session, but
About the red light cameras?
yeah, red light cameras, and then there were a couple of things. I think they were gonna try to do the Roe versus Wade legislation as well. But there's no guarantee that they would even look at the people who have been sent up by the governor, and the person who has been sent up is a former member who did not distinguish himself when he was a member the last time. Let's put it that way. So he may not, he would potentially not be approved by the Senate, even though he has scads of money and lots of office building, commercial and office buildings and that kind of thing.
Okay. So anything else?
No, that's the sad story, that we don't have any progress.
Okay. So that's, every person is, even without that, every member of our committee is the council is very important. So I just wanted to say that, Rob, and even though we don't get to see you that often, then you are important to us. All right, West of Hudson Service, well, we're stuck at least until after the first of the year, although the letter between the New Jersey Transit and Metro North
Which
said,
I gave to you.
which said that they requested
These
that
are the letters?
as soon as,
I read the letter.
It's attached, you can write that.
No, this is, it's
We want you
multiple
to-
copies of the
Oh,
same,
no.
and then this is the letter. I think I read the letter.
the executive director, Kevin Corbett, signed off on it, that they would try to restore our three trains.
Yeah, well, this is.
So, all we can hope is that
Yes.
they'll do it.
Yeah. Just for Rhonda's sake, I did not distribute the letter because it's just my policy never to distribute letters if the person who wrote it didn't say it was okay. But it's in the press. It's in a press release. It's in a press release, and we can get
So
that
it's-
out to people.
Wide open knowledge now. All right.
In today's-
Anything else?
No,
I
in
have plenty
today's- in
to say
today's
about what
paper-
happened yesterday.
In today's paper was the article that you sent out. Go ahead, Warren.
There was an article about some of the information here. But Randy and I attended the New Jersey Transit Board meeting on Tuesday. And the interesting thing is, there were 3 items on the agenda that were pulled. And they were all budget items. Fiscal year
budget, capital
2019
budget.
operating
Oh my gosh.
budget, the fiscal 2019 capital program, and the third item was the grant programs for local transportation. They were all pulled. And putting
But
two and two.
everything continues at the same levels
Right,
as she
and
makes.
what I think
Until
happened,
it gets
Until the end,
approved.
so
but I think
nothing
what
is
happened
getting
was this. And
NJ Transit to divert 511 million from capital, oh, right, I heard on the radio.
so.
From capital funds to pay for operating costs.
And that is really a black eye,
Yeah.
because it's not doing right with New Jersey Transit. They've been doing this for years. There was a lot of criticism of the Christie administration that it was done, and now it's even worse. So it is a major problem here, and the new administration has to deal with it. It's interesting that there was, let me see if I still have it, I did bring it in, that there was a letter that had been sent out last year to the governor of the state of New Jersey, and my comments were in that letter about how New Jersey Transit should be funded. And I thought I had it here. If I find it, I'll give it to you. And the beauty of it is that New Jersey Transit does not have a dedicated source of funds at all, like the MTA
It's
does.
something Warren has been mentioning for years.
Right, so they just get a piece of, or the state budget, the way.
Well, however,
They
they
get
always cobble
appropriation.
something together
Appropriations.
at the last minute, and it is very, very problematic. They do get money, for example, they got some money from the Turnpike Authority, and there's still a big dispute now between the governor and the legislature on how New Jersey Transit is to be funded.
That's right.
He had committed to more money, and it's still way short.
Do they get a set percentage from the Turnpike Authority?
No,
It's like a one-shot,
Oh, it's a one shot?
I think so.
So even that is unreliable. Diverted money from, yeah.
maybe I have it here. Yes, this was the
Oh,
letter.
and then that reduced the state's direct support, so just because you get one more doesn't mean your budget increases, it means, oh, we're just paying out of a
Yeah, it's sort
different
of like-
pot.
Anyway, this was the letter that was sent last July to Governor Christie, and here are my comments in that letter. I did find it.
Oh, good.
So that I have spoken out about this, and this is a major issue with New Jersey Transit. Also, I brought up quite a few items at the board meeting, all right, and presented it to New Jersey Transit. The first thing, as I said, is we still don't get a status on the PTC installation. We have never really seen any sort of official status, and I have all this information for you in the executive director's report, and that's the package that they give out.
And I had my show and tell, I
This is-
showed the dashboard from the previous meeting,
Right,
that was the current
and-
one that I had.
Right, and this is still a big issue. And although they say that they'll be able to get the extension to 2020, we have no proof of that. And we have no proof that they meet the qualifications to get the extension to 2020, and I brought it up. I also passed out to Kevin Corbett at the meeting a copy of what the Long Island Railroad uses to report on PTC. And I said, look, if they can do it,
Right.
you should be able to do it.
Exactly.
And that's a
What
critical
was his
issue.
response to that?
Well, they didn't
No,
respond.
they don't respond.
Oh, they're
Well,
just
they'll
saying
resign.
this.
They don't
Yes.
talk.
But he does have a copy of that book, and that's the book that's given out at the Long Island Railroad, which is the same way that Metro North does it. So it shows an example of how this should be done, you know.
Yeah.
The other thing I did bring up is, somebody came up with a wonderful idea at the Secaucus Transfer Station to come up with a new operating plan for the escalators. Well, every time I hit them, all the escalators were going down and nothing was going up. And I went and talked to customer service about it, and they showed me this new wonderful cockamamie plan that came up, and I said, this is unworkable. So I brought that up at the board meeting too. I said, you came out with this wonderful plan, but it doesn't work. You better go back and change it. Having all the escalators going down, and you're trying to go up, and you have to go all the way into the platform. It's ridiculous.
I think, I don't know if it was out of service or if it was part of that planned thing, but when we got off the train, it's a car, we all had to walk up there. So on one escalator, we all had to walk up the stairs.
Right, and the other thing I brought up is, okay, they have told us that the problem, why they cut the trains, was because of equipment had to go into the Meadows Maintenance Complex
Right.
for the PTC installation. But the real problem, the main problem, is not having enough engineers. And they even are still canceling trains up and above that, and early, was it this week or the end of last week?
Last week we lost one.
Our only express train was canceled, no engineer.
Right, so they don't have crews for the train.
Right,
That's-
and,
Yeah, the engineers.
And are they speaking about that in the meeting at all?
No.
To discuss the state of
No,
affairs of?
No,
No.
only because we mentioned it.
But
I
yeah,
mentioned
you're
it.
the only ones that are bringing it.
and I said, look, the whole thing has become totally unreliable. You never know if a train's gonna run, because they never know if a crew's gonna show up, and they can run the trains.
Yeah, Sunday night, there's an evening now, well, on the weekends, there's every 2 hours a train. And canceled one train now, it was going to New Jersey. They had a 4-hour captain service going to New Jersey.
And do you know, probably you don't, what the either average age or years in service the existing engineers have, anything to know,
No,
oh,
but
they're
this
probably going
OS
through
that's
a
supposed to
massive.
come out by around Labor Day.
They were all working
They're
for
all-
Metro North.
Right, everybody hopped
It's only
over
12.
and,
The number we were given, there were 12 engineers who moved to Metro North, and others may have gone to.
12 in a year
No, in the
or
last few
or
years.
a few years?
Nothing
Right.
recently, but in the past few years.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, it's a problem, and I say, they have to come up with a program and show the public what they are doing to hire and train engineers.
So again, at their board meetings,
Well,
do
you can see
they,
it's not in the executive
No.
director's report.
do they ever do presentations? that-
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
They
they do presentations.
They do
yeah.
do
Oh, yeah.
presentations?
And it shows how good they are.
How do, yeah, so who determines, I guess, their board members determine?
No.
Who,
No,
the
it's
board members
staff.
can't ask for a presentation on something?
There was only one time when I saw something like that happen, but it's very
Wow.
rare,
Wow.
you know? So we
I
said,
just don't, I look at these
Yeah,
people, I
they're-
mean, I
they're-
don't, you know,
Yeah,
there's
it's not.
not all nice people, but I don't know that any of them has any expertise in any of these areas. I
Well,
mean,
if any of them would ever, do they ever come to the Metro North Long Island
No.
Railroad
No,
meeting to
no.
see what
No.
a board
No,
meeting
they don't-
should
they
look
don't-
like?
no, but what I do
Supposed
is
to
I
come.
bring it to them, because I bring the books over.
Yeah,
And I
So,
did it, I
right,
did
they
it, I did it to
see
Steve
what-
Santoro, that went nowhere. Maybe Kevin eventually can start to do it, because this was the first time.
well, I think Kevin's seen, he knows the
Oh,
books, so that.
yeah, he knows,
I
knows.
think that they don't,
But,
they're
yeah.
supposed to allow them to cross the Hudson River.
Well, I
Right.
mean, you know.
Was
Well,
there
since-
anybody there from Tri-State
Mine, Sherelle went off.
regarding the report that they put
Nancy
out?
went off.
No,
I wonder if they, they
Right.
may just be trying to go to the
No,
legislature.
it was just the
to-
same old people who come every meeting.
right.
Well, they also pulled a surprise on everybody. I mean, I'm not a New Jersey resident, so I'm not as offended by it, but some of the New Jersey residents who spoke were obsessed with it, or incensed rather, that another,
I was
Actually, I
snuck
was
in.
snuck
I
in.
edited it, so you have it.
without having gone
Oh,
through the
this-
normal
this
review
one.
process of, people having.
And
a
that was
chance to-
about PTC, spending more money for PTC.
And did they give a timeline when they thought they could be in
So they had a
compliance?
walk-in, they had a walk-in.
Well, they're saying that they'll make 2020, and they'll be able to
Alright.
qualify for the extension. And I'm saying they may not be, because if you look at the criteria that's required to meet the extension for 2020, I don't think they can meet it. And they've given us no backup to show us that they can. You know, and I think that's important. But I did say that we still need to see a plan on how, what they're gonna do to hire engineers to start running trains.
Right.
This is very important. The other thing is that I pushed many years ago to start to have them put mean distance between failure in their executive director's report. Well, I wasn't totally successful. What I was able to get them to do was put an overall mean distance between failure for all the equipment, which is really meaningless. They need to do it like Metro North and New Jersey and Long Island, break it out by type.
Yeah, absolutely,
And-
that's the
and-
only,
And what I also brought that issue up to them, and I said, look, you have to do it. Look how Long Island Railroad Metro North are doing it, and you should do it. And you should set goals on your reliability and see that your equipment meets those goals.
and they don't set goals either, or publicly they don't set goals.
They just
Maybe.
report it.
They just
You can see it's in the report.
It's a-
Right, but,
it's a-
It's very vague. It's
Yeah, they have a cockamamie reason for it, that they have equipment rotations and they couldn't possibly
Right.
keep track of everything, it's just.
What I will do is send Kevin Corlett.
Right. Now, there's
the
a
new-
few-
The new book from Metro North, once it's on the website.
Okay.
Right. A couple other little things I said was, there's gonna be a big problem in New Jersey, because the New Jersey Department of Transportation is gonna fix the helix entering the Lincoln Tunnel. Now, the Lincoln Tunnel, and that means they're gonna close lanes.
I was in it this morning.
What?
I was in the Lincoln Tunnel this morning, on the helix,
Mm-hmm.
going in. It's backed up.
Well, they have to close lanes, they have to do, it's an 80-year-old
Right,
structure.
right. You
And I
have-
said to them, what is your plan for this? What are you
Yeah.
trying, how are you dealing with this?
When are they supposed to do it?
Very soon.
Very soon, and I haven't seen any plans. Remember that they are more reliant on buses because they've cut back on their
Right,
rail services.
exactly.
You know, and that's a
Are
problem.
they cutting down lanes on it? or-
One
They're
lane.
supposed to
Yes.
close one lane.
One lane
Down
at a
to
time.
one lane?
No,
One lane at a
close
time.
No,
one.
they
Close
close
one
one.
lane at a time.
Yeah, and that's so crowded there,
Wow.
it's crazy. That's gonna
Yeah.
seriously affect bus service, and I don't know what plans they
Yeah.
have to handle that. And do they wanna put people on trains and send them into Hoboken? I don't know, but they have to really start thinking about that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, that's when I put a pitch in for something the New Jersey Association of Rail Passengers has asked for, and that is the extension of the number 7 subway train to Secaucus. Now, I still have the original report from Mayor Bloomberg's way back, you know, it showed it's a feasible project. And we still have to start really thinking about that in more detail, you know. And finally, I slip one in, and it's kind of silly, but it's not really silly. They had old incandescent light bulbs in their hi-hats, and I said, why don't you put in LED bulbs? You know,
Right.
come on, you know, instead of having 100 watts per bulb, you can have 18 watts per bulb. Why don't you go and start figuring out how to save some costs? So these are my comments
good, thank you.
from that, and you know, I brought that up. The other thing is I guess we got this one, that about the Gateway project, that the FTA is not going along with New York and New Jersey's plan of how they're going to make a contribution to it. And that's another huge problem, that the federal government's not moving ahead with the project.
And they were expecting a 30% contribution from,
I think, you know, as much as I'm not happy with this, I think the federal government has a case with this, because you know, it was not handled right, and now it was done. There has to be a way of ensuring, you know, the proper funding for this project. And if not, then we have to start scaling it back and say, okay, start with one tunnel, start with something. You know, it's really, you know, the thing. You need the physically constrained funding plan to how to go ahead with it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a problem, a lot of places that the feds don't want to accept loan funds as the local.
Yeah, you're right, Joe, absolutely.
And there's a lot of projects that probably won't go forward because of it.
But this is very serious here. You know, the other one that people brought up was, at the last meeting, they stuck in this thing about the Portal Drawbridge. And what they're trying to do. Yeah, they're trying to replace a 2-track bridge with another 2-track bridge and say this will improve service.
wow.
And that's not, it's not
No,
true.
that's-
It's got to be at least a 3-track bridge. And there was a complaint. That was another item that was added. I wasn't there because I was sick, but Randy showed me it was snuck in at the last minute during an executive session.
There was only one advocate who railed against it, because the others, it's just.
That's it?
Well, there weren't very many people around.
Well, that's, I
Again,
guess that's the thing,
extended-
isn't it?
And there was again an extended executive session.
Yeah,
People-
exactly.
Typically,
An hour
how
and a
many people
half,
speak,
they're
defensive.
how many people speak typically at the public session?
Well, actually, I can tell you, for this meeting, we had 6 people speaking in the agenda items, and then there were 6 people for the non-agenda items, and I led off. He was second or third, and then we left because I had to get back home. I had a conference call to participate.
Now, I did speak out very interestingly. I didn't bring the notes on that, on the agenda items, because there was a big article in a local newspaper about Conduit, who's the company that's doing this cashless toll system for the Tappan Zee Bridge, and how they screwed up on the Tappan Zee Bridge. They screwed up in Maryland, they screwed up in Florida,
Oh,
they
wow.
screwed up in
What's
Texas,
the name of
and
the
they screwed up in
company?
San Francisco.
Conduent,
Yeah.
and TA
And
uses them also for bridges.
right, and in the
Yes.
December 13th board meeting of New Jersey Transit, they hired this company to run their whole fare system, the vending machines and everything else. So I brought the front page article and gave it to the chair lady and to Kevin and said, look, I think you better go check this company out a little more carefully and perform an audit on them. I says, but you got one thing going for you. They moved the new headquarters to Florham Park, New Jersey, so you can take the train over and go visit them.
But actually, we saw one of their trucks as we were walking back to Penn Station to get our train.
Oh, did you?
So they must love me. I mean,
Yeah,
Well done.
well, they also do, I mean, they do Port Authority, they do MTA bridges and tunnels, but nothing in the fare system for.
but this is in the direct revenue, you know, the vending machines and everything, you know.
Right, yeah, this is big because it's all the.
Well, I don't want to think that we are monopolizing the meeting west of Hudson. It's finally come to the forefront with Metro North, and they're becoming active and advocating for us, which they hadn't done for so many years. I do ride the Hudson line quite frequently, and
So,
things are
I have
okay
an
there.
East of Hudson issue that I'd like to.
And then I've had several trips on the New Haven line as far as New Haven and back, and everything was just worked perfectly fine, except, well, it didn't really affect us as much, but yesterday we were stuck in a power off area for 10 minutes. Power went off, but they got the train to go again. Unlike when I was going last month into New York and was stuck for 55 minutes in the tunnel between Secaucus and New York.
Well, I do think, again, it's where not having many people from East of Hudson because of the governor's office not approving the people that have been set up, it's hard to know exactly what's happening east of Hudson. Now, I got a call today from a woman who says that there's no parking left at North White Plains. And
Who
they put up that
controls
new garage.
Who controls that? Is it Metro North or is it contract?
That's-
Metro North,
Well,
Metro North owns some of,
yeah.
there are about
It's
there are about four different parking facility
That's right.
operators at North White. One of which is Laz Parking for as a contractor for
But
Metro North.
she proceeded to describe, and Rhonda, you can certainly add to this because I just have the information from this one woman. But she said that, you know, she's thought to go to White Plains, but the White Plains parking is completely overburdened also, and that at Armonk, so you're ending up with people in Westchester that literally, regardless of even if you have a pass, that you are spending a ton of time looking and not finding parking spaces. And with the 20-year needs assessment and the capital program coming up, I think this council finding out how severe is the problem. Now, she was told that the number of people that have moved to Westchester recently is at a faster rate. And you look at the building that has been going on in
Let's
White
find out, has a
Plains.
ridership from White Plains
That's what I
Station
think we
is
should, yeah,
Yeah.
to
Let's
find
find
out
out.
what the ridership numbers are like. What's that, Rhonda?
White Plains is very busy, and I believe the wait time, when I moved 15 years ago, I had to wait 14 months. Now the wait time is over 2 years.
Oh, God.
And if you, do you know, if you get to the station by 8 o'clock, is that already too late to find a space? Or 8:30, you know, knowing what time is it you have to get to the station before all the spots are gone?
If you don't have a pass, you have to get to the station before 6, because until 10, only pass holders can park on any level that's not the basement or 6.
That's the one that's attached, almost like attached to the station?
Across the street.
Right.
Across the street?
Do you know if those spaces fill up even for the pass holders?
I haven't heard anyone complain. Well, my husband will go in between 7 and 8, and if he has the pass, if I'm not in and he's using my pass, he tends to be able to find parking. Sometimes he can go up to like 4 or 5,
Okay.
find parking. But if he doesn't have the pass, he doesn't even bother to go in because he can't find any parking.